Welcome to Tentative Title with Tim. This is a podcast about creativity, about process, about filmmaking, and about screenwriting. Welcome everybody back to the podcast. I hope everybody's doing well. First thing I wanted to say is that I appreciate everybody who is showing up to listen to these podcasts every week. It gives me enough drive to do these things, to do this podcast every week, and I hope I'm giving you something that you can use, some information you can use, or at least like something that can entertain you for a little bit, maybe while you're doing dishes or housework, or even if you're at work. I hope I'm bringing some value to you guys. So with that said, I wanted to get into today's topic, which was something that I've been thinking about for a while, and it's very prevalent in my own life because I'm the kind of person that really overthinks a lot of things. And it's a part of me that I've been trying really, really hard to have, I guess, less of, so that it's not as much of my personality. But I guess you could say it's like a personality comfort zone that I just have developed over time, and it's just who I am, and I can't help it no matter how much I try to fight it. And that's the idea of keeping things simple. And I think, at least for me, if something is not complicated, it means it's not good. If it's not complicated, it's not thought out. It's not something that it requires work in order to accomplish or in order to understand. And that's a mindset that I think I've had for quite a while. And it pops up in my writing. It pops up in the way in which I make films. It's just a part of just, like I said before, about who I am. And but that's not actually the way that things are supposed to work. Anybody who's successful at any business knows that you are trying to minimize complications. You are trying to make things as straightforward as possible. You are trying to make it so that the whole less is more mentality is what you're striving for, because you want systems in place that make it easier for whatever it is you're trying to do. And I was reminded about that every single time that I listen to anybody who's in the film business, but also anybody who is in any business. When they talk about their process, when they talk about just their mindset, it's always about minimizing the steps to get to their result. And I wanted to talk about that because of the fact that more often than not, I add steps into something because I don't trust the process. And that's not something that I should do, but it's something that I should, like I said before, be streamlining anything that I'm trying to do. And I've been taking steps to do that. So with my writing, I have the story document that I put together. I just I list out, genre, format, logline, synopsis, everything on one page, so that I'm working out that initial step of developing a story. And I'm learning how to do that with editing, and I'm learning how to do that with production as well. Because especially in production, you can get so overwhelmed by all of the things that are happening around you especially if you're a director, and it becomes almost impossible to focus on any one thing because every moment is filled up with questions of what it is that you want, because everybody who is on your team wants to give you what you want, or that is hopefully the case on any production. But with doing that is a lot of just cutting out the crap, cutting out the things that are not important, and cutting out the things that are going to get in the way. And for me, it's a lot of a mindset like block, especially with writing. Like right now, I'm doing revisions on a script, and the first week after getting notes from my writing partner, I was spending that time processing the notes and kind of like really getting wrapped in my head about how to go about doing it, when all I really had to do was just sit down and just apply the notes. Just as simple as it sounds, I just need to sit in the damn chair and go through the list of notes and say, okay, I need to do this, which means I need to go to this scene, and I need to change this, which means I'm going to change this further down the line. Simple, right? But I spent a lot of time just kind of worrying about how these notes are going to unravel what I had already written, and, just this constant, extra stuff, extra junk that didn't matter. And I think that happens with a lot of artists. I think that happens because of the fact that we don't want to make extra work for ourselves because the work itself is already hard. But the I guess the ironic part, I don't know if it's ironic, but the part that I always come back to, or the revelation that I always come back to, is the fact that the work was a lot easier if I just sat down and did it. I could have saved so much time. I could have saved so much anxiety and worry if I just sat down and without worrying about anything, without trying to turn this into an emotional thing, and just said, okay, here's what needs to be done. How do I get there? What are the steps to get there? But it's very easy to turn these steps into emotions, and we should not be doing that. Like all the emotion, all the I guess the fluff, the heart should be in the work, not the experience that we have before we even jump into the work. And this applies like to every step of the creative process. Like, I think a lot of us get kind of stopped because of like our emotions, or our worry about what somebody's going to think about a choice that we made. And, it's a lot of extra junk that doesn't matter, because by sitting down and doing the work, we're already doing 50% more than a lot of people out there, because a lot of people end up just thinking about what they want to do, thinking about, oh, I want to make this change on the script, or like I need to make this edit, or blah, blah, blah. And they spend more time thinking about it. And, not to say that there aren't times when you're strategically making a plan of how you're going to approach the work so you don't waste a lot of time. But when it comes to just the fear of making a choice, of making a move at all, that's where it just gets all complicated. And it should not be that way, but it just happens to be that way. And I'm finding that a lot. Just the more I listen to professionals talk about their work, it's very much not an emotional thing. Like they may talk about their passion for something, But when it comes down to like, well, I went in and I did this and I did this and I did this and I did this. It's very like unemotional. It's very matter of fact. And that's how they get so much done, is because they just say, yeah, this is the process. Like maybe they don't feel like doing it. Maybe there is that fear that is in the back of their head. But for the most part, they've done it enough where they're like, yeah, well, this is just how it works. Like I trust in the process. I trust that when I am doing something that, either they have people that they can rely upon, that kind of takes the burden off of them, and all they have to do is sign off on it, or that when they're creating something, they're like, well, I know that I'm going to go through this portion of the process where I am going to doubt what I'm doing. I am going to feel this emotion of fear and embarrassment and not knowing where it's going to go. But having faith that once they get past that point, that their mind will focus and they will get the work done. And I got to say that, like, I think that's a lot of what happens with me, is that I have to go through that portion of worry and doubt and just, and fear and just all the junk that goes on inside my head, until I reach a point where I just throw out my hands and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Why did I spend so much time worrying about this? I should just do the work. I should just sit down and do it. And, I wonder, like, do you guys feel the same way about your work? Is this something that, I mean, for me, like, I really want to break myself of that process, but I also know that that's what I have to go through as well. It's really weird, because I want to spend every day being productive. I want to spend every day moving forward, having this incremental momentum, to feel like I'm always moving forward, always making progress. But there's also times when life gets in the way and you just don't feel like it, or there's not enough hours in the day because of something that happened, and it just doesn't work out the way you thought it was. And we're always dealing with setbacks. Like, I gotta say that probably 70% of what we do, and don't quote me on the percentages. I'm just like guessing out of my experience. It's like most of the time there are going to be setbacks. There are going to be things that you don't expect that are going to happen, no matter how well you plan. It's just, that's the nature of what we do. Because essentially, like, the world doesn't really care what we do sometimes, or they don't care what we do until they see it. It's like, if you're trying to make something, if you're trying to work towards something, the world doesn't really understand or care until you've reached the finish line on something, and then on a project, a movie, a novel, or whatever it is, until you have something to show. And that's when they could possibly care, if they like it enough. But I want to encourage each one of you to just keep it simple. Like, it's the old, I guess the acronym, KISS, like, keep it simple, stupid, like that. It's very easy to say. It's something that, you can like tout to somebody else, but it's really not very specific on how to go about doing that, or what that actually means, or like maybe the way that you're going about making what you're making is the simple way. Like, that's something that I'm working with too, is that maybe realizing that the way in which I'm going about my work actually is the simplest way that I can go about my work. And but on the other hand, I suspect that I overcomplicate things and I overthink things, and when it's actually a very simple answer, and I just need to get off my butt and do it. And usually that's the case. And so anyway, guys, that's my little rant on just like keeping things simple. I hope I didn't make that too complicated. You know what I mean? But also, I kind of wanted to talk about plot as well. For me, I like a plot that is complicated. Like, I haven't seen Tenet yet, but I've heard that the plot of Tenet is actually pretty complicated, as all Christopher Nolan films seem to be. Like, he loves to get very intellectual about all of his films are very intellectual, and I appreciate that because it challenges me as an audience member. I'd love to kind of walk away from a film and just like ponder what the meaning of it was, or like what happened with this, and why did that character do that thing. And I've this is also like part of the whole quirk I was talking about, was that back in high school, I would listen to like songs, and I would turn to my friends and I would be like, well, what did that artist mean when they said that line? And they would look at me, they're like, Tim, just enjoy the damn song. Like, you don't have to analyze the song. Like, he said those words because he said those words. Like, don't worry about it. But I would like look deeper into what was being said, or in films. I would just think about like, well, why is this happening? And I would like look beyond the frame of what was happening. And so sometimes a very convoluted film, I would look at it and I'd be like, yeah, I totally get what was happening. Like, I put the pieces together. I saw a little nuance in a scene that gave me a clue into like what this film was about, or what what this character's intent was. And like I thrived on seeing the subtlety in things, which apparently a lot of people like miss. And I was like, how could you not miss that? Didn't you see what happened in that scene? Like, that it was clear that this is what was going on, and and stuff like that. But I also appreciate a film that on the surface seems very simple, but is actually very complex. And that is also another layer of this whole thing. Like, when you're writing something, you could have that surface level of what a character's doing, what the plot is actually about, but have it be about something completely different, or about to have kind of like this allegory underneath. And those are also very fun things to write and to watch and to like film as well. Like, I want to get to a point where I can, make a film in which there are many, many layers. And at the moment, my feature film Look Into the Fire has those kind of layers, but I mean, I did my best with what I had, and I'm very proud of it. But like, I would love to go deeper in trying to create something that has even more of a rewatching value. That like people can pick it apart like years from now, and just like really have like conversations about what was happening in the plot, or what was happening with the characters. Like, I'm talking about keeping it simple, but it's like sometimes like the most complex things that we can watch and read and create are sometimes the most simple. And it's because the audience already has like, they already have an idea, like they're already piecing it together in their mind. Like, the audience is not stupid. Like, the audience knows a lot more than we know, and to assume that the audience needs to be like kind of pulled along, or like spoon-fed stuff, like, is completely absurd. I mean, and not to say every audience member is that way, but for the most part, like, mature people who watch films are able to put together what a film is about, and no matter how simple it may be. So anyway, guys, yeah, I want to say again, I appreciate each and every one of you. thank you so much for showing up and listening to this podcast. I hope I'm giving you something that you can enjoy, or that you can learn from, or that you can relate to. Just I love doing these podcasts. I want to keep doing it. And so I hope you enjoy listening to them too. So at this point, it seems like the world is starting to open up, and this is awesome news. I'm very excited about that. But still, we have to stay vigilant. So, we have to still wear the mask, social distance, wash hands, all that stuff. But yeah, we are getting there. Little by little, we are getting there, and this whole pandemic will be in our rear view, and I can't wait for that day. So until then, guys, I'll talk to you again. I'll talk to you later. And also, if you want to connect with me, I have a email for the podcast. It's tentative.title.with.tim.podcast@gmail.com. Also, I have a Twitter account for the podcast where I post episodes, and that is @title_Tim. And you can find also on the Facebook page, I have a page for the podcast, so you can connect with me there. Looking forward to hearing from all of you, and until then, I'll catch you on the next one.